Youth is happy because it has the capacity to see beauty. Anyone who keeps the ability to see beauty never grows old.
Oh,
That is Franz Kafka. And look, I have to be honest with you, right out of the gate, when I first pulled this quote out of the stack, I almost tossed it.
oh, really?
Yeah, I almost put it in the too cheesy to use pile.
I get that. It does have a bit of a, a greeting card vibe, doesn't it?
It really does. It
Yeah.
sounds like denial. Like, just look at the flowers and your arthritis won't hurt.
Yeah.
It just felt like a platitude.
Sure.
But then I started digging through the rest of the research for today. I mean, we've got systems theory, we've got fitness protocols from Dan John, Socrates, and I realized I was completely misreading Kafka.
It's a common trap. We hear beauty and our brains just immediately jump to aesthetics.
Right, sunsets, museums.
A really well-designed sports car, maybe. But Kafka, he isn't talking about looking at pretty things. He's talking about something he calls clear sight.
And that is the mission for this deep dive. We're going to try to completely redefine what eternal youth means. We're tossing out the anti-aging creams, the biohacking, just for a few minutes. We're looking at youth not as a lack of wrinkles, but as a fundamental orientation toward reality.
Right, because if you look at the sources, and they range from ancient philosophy like Tolstoy, all the way to modern behavioral science, a pattern emerges.
What's the pattern?
They all suggest that growing old isn't really about time passing. It's about calcification. It's about the hardening of your perception.
It's losing the ability to see what is actually in front of you.
Yes, because you're too busy projecting your past onto it.
Okay, so let's unpack this idea of clear sight. Because it sounds simple, but I'm guessing it's the hardest thing in the world to maintain.
It really is.
To understand why it's so hard, we have to look at how we filter the world. There's a story in our notes from Anthony DeMello. He was a Jesuit priest, a psychotherapist, about a master teaching his disciples how to look.
I love this one. It's so deceptively simple. The master tells them, don't look for God, just look. And when you look, see only what is there.
And his example is the moon. He says, when you look at the moon, see the moon.
And of course, the disciples are just confused.
They're probably thinking, well, obviously, it's a giant rock in the sky. What else are we going to see?
But that's where the master points out the trap. He says, a hungry person looks at the moon and sees a ball of cheese. A lover looks at the moon and sees the face of their beloved.
Which is funny, but let's ground that, because I think we do this constantly.
All the time.
If I'm feeling insecure about my job and my boss walks by my desk and doesn't say hello, I don't see a busy person walking. I see a person who is about to fire me.
That is exactly it. You aren't seeing the event, you're seeing your fear. You're projecting your internal state onto the external world.
And that's the mechanism of aging in this spiritual sense.
Yes. Think of it like dust settling on a camera lens.
Okay, I like that image.
Every time you get disappointed, you add a filter of cynicism. Every time you get hurt, you learn to see threats where there aren't any. Every time you have a massive success, you might start seeing yourself as the center of the universe.
So eventually you aren't seeing the world at all. You're just seeing your own scar tissue projected onto everything.
Precisely. You're seeing your hunger, not the moon. You're seeing your desire, not the person. Kafka's idea of youth is the discipline of wiping that lens clean. It's the capacity to see a person just as a person.
Not as someone who can help my career or someone who might hurt me.
Exactly.
This connects directly to the notes we have on Socrates. Now, usually when people quote Socrates, I kind of brace myself for something incredibly high-minded and unrelatable.
I know what you mean.
And this quote, I am not an Athenian or a Greek, but a citizen of the universe. My first reaction was, okay, easy for you to say, you're Socrates.
It does sound a bit pretentious on the surface, doesn't it?
Right. It sounds like something a backpacker says when they don't want to admit where they're actually from.
But look at it through this lens of aging. As we age, psychologically, our world tends to shrink. We start caring only about our tribe, our neighborhood, our immediate comfort.
We build walls.
We build walls. We say, I am this and I am not that.
We define ourselves by what we exclude.
Exactly. That is contraction. Socrates remained young because he refused to let his vision contract. He kept his circle of concern wrapped around the entire cosmos. He refused to shrink his identity down to a zip code.
So aging is a contraction of vision, and youth is an expansion.
That's a great way to put it. And that contraction creates a lot of suffering. This brings us to probably the most intense story in our source material today, the one from Tolstoy,
Oh, the bear.
the bear.
This one is, well, it's graphic, but it really sticks with you. So Tolstoy describes these ancient hunters. They didn't have high-powered rifles. They used physics and psychology.
A simple pendulum trap.
Right. They would hang a heavy log on a rope over a bowl of honey. The bear comes along, smells the honey, and sees this log in the way. So naturally, he pushes the log away to get to the honey.
And because it's on a rope, gravity does its thing. It swings back and bumps him.
And here is the crucial moment. This is where the aging mind reveals itself.
The bear gets mad, he's annoyed, he thinks the log is attacking him.
So he pushes it harder.
And of course, physics dictates that the log swings back harder and smacks him again. Now the bear is furious. He enters a rage cycle. He hits it with everything he has.
And the log returns with enough force to kill him.
It's a tragic image, but Tolstoy asks the question, can't people be wiser than bears?
That's the aha moment for me. Because how often are we the bear?
All the time. The aging soul, the one that has lost that clear sight, only sees the immediate offense. It sees the log hitting it.
It doesn't see the rope. It doesn't see the pendulum.
It doesn't see the mechanism.
So the useful response in this context isn't about being strong enough to stop the log. It's not about fighting back. It's about having the wisdom to just stop pushing.
Exactly. Wisdom is stepping back to see the pattern. If you react to harm with more force, you're just feeding energy into the pendulum. You're perpetuating your own suffering.
The young soul sees the mechanism and steps out of the way.
Right. But that is so hard to do in the moment. When you feel attacked, say, in an argument with a partner or a colleague, your instinct is to push back.
Of course. That's the animal instinct. That's the bear.
Clear sight is the ability to override that instinct and say, wait, this is just a pendulum. If I stop feeding it energy, it will eventually stop swinging.
It's amazing because we usually associate youth with being hot-headed and age with wisdom. But Tolstoy is flipping that on its head.
He is. He's saying the reactive, hot-headed response is actually a sign of spiritual decay. You've lost the ability to see the bigger picture.
And that inability to see the bigger picture leads to a loss of nuance.
Totally. There's a fantastic quote in here from G.K. Chesterton about the word good. He says, if a man were to shoot his grandmother at a range of 500 yards, I should call him a good shot, but not necessarily a good man.
Which is dark, but makes you laugh.
It highlights a specific type of blindness. As we get set in our ways, we tend to collapse everything into black and white.
Someone is either a hero or a villain.
An idea is either right or wrong. But the youthful vision, the clear sight, can hold multiple dimensions at once.
You can separate the skill from the morality.
You can acknowledge someone's skill while questioning their character. You can see the complexity. The aging mind wants to simplify everything into these binary choices because it's easier.
It takes energy to hold two opposing thoughts in your head at the same time.
It does, which actually segues perfectly into this idea of our own importance. Because if we are looking clearly, we have to look clearly at ourselves too.
And there is a story here involving Pete Holmes, the comedian, and Mitch Hurwitz, the creator of Arrested Development.
This is such a great lesson in humility.
So Pete Holmes is congratulating Mitch Hurwitz. He says, you know, you did it. You raised two daughters to adulthood. You survived.
The gauntlet.
Right. And Hurwitz just looks at him and says, they did most of it.
They did most of it.
Now, I have to play devil's advocate here. Is that just false modesty? Is that just the Hollywood thing of pretending to be humble while secretly thinking I'm amazing?
I don't think so. I think it's accuracy. It's clear sight. The paradox is that as parents or leaders or teachers, we are crucial. We set the tone, we provide the safety, we buy the groceries.
But we are not as central to the outcome as our ego wants us to believe. The child grows themselves. The student learns through their own effort.
Right. Growing old is forgetting that paradox. It's swinging too far one way, either thinking, I did everything, I am the god of this outcome, which is arrogance.
Or, I don't matter at all, which is despair.
And both are failures of vision.
There's a quote from Paulo Coelho in The Stack that nails this. He says, every person plays a central role in the history of the world, but normally doesn't know it.
And that not knowing is the key. The moment you become convinced of your own centrality, you stop looking. You stop seeing the beauty in the unexpected. You stop seeing the contributions of others.
You become the star of a movie that only exists in your head.
That is aging.
It reminds me of the advice from Robert Louis Stevenson we found. Keep your fears to yourself, but share your courage with others.
That is the behavior of someone who understands they aren't the center of the universe. The aging soul broadcasts its anxiety because it thinks, my feelings are the most important thing happening right now.
Everyone needs to stop and deal with my fear.
Exactly. The youthful soul realizes, okay, I'm scared, but that doesn't need to be everyone's problem. However, if I have courage, that is a resource I can share. It's a decision to be net positive for the group.
It's emotional generosity.
It is, and it requires that clear sight we keep coming back to. You have to see that fear is contagious, but so is courage, and you choose which one to spread.
So we've established that this eternal youth is a mindset of clear perception, humility, and breaking reactive cycles. But we're not just floating in philosophical space here. The sources also get really tactical.
They do, and interestingly, some of the best advice comes from, of all places, physical training.
Yeah, let's talk about Matt Walker and sleep research first. Because pulling an all-nighter is usually seen as a young person's game. I remember in college, it was almost a badge of honor.
A terrible badge of honor. The science suggests that's actually the quickest way to degrade your sight.
The quote we have is, "Practice does not make perfect.
Right.
Practice with a good night's sleep makes perfect."
It's about recognizing that rest isn't a sign of weakness. It's infrastructure. The aging mind, the impatient mind, tries to force progress through grinding. It burns out.
The youthful mind understands rhythms.
It understands that the brain needs to consolidate what it learned. Sleep is literally when the brain washes itself. It clears out metabolic waste.
It wipes the lens.
Literally. If you don't sleep, you are looking at the world through a dirty lens. You become more reactive, more like the bear.
And along with that, there's this advice to set the bar low, which sounds terrible. It sounds like giving up.
I know, it sounds like aiming for mediocrity. But listen to the rest of the thought. Today will not be perfect, and nobody's going to get out of your way. Okay. Setting the bar low isn't about aiming for failure. It's about reducing the friction to just start.
Ah, okay. So it's not about the quality of the end result. It's about just showing up.
Exactly. If you demand perfection every day, you will quit the moment things get messy. And things always get messy.
The person who sets the bar low, meaning I just need to show up and do a little bit, even if it's ugly, that person actually keeps going.
And they preserve the ability to see beauty in the messy process of growth.
That makes sense. It's consistent imperfection versus sporadic perfectionism.
That's the formula. And this connects to Dan John. He's a legendary strength coach, but his 3 givens are basically life philosophy wrapped in gym shorts.
Okay, let's run through those.
Okay.
Number 1, the body is one magnificent piece.
Holistic view. You can't ruin your sleep and expect your career to flourish. You can't ignore your gut health and expect your mind to be clear. It's all one system.
Number 2, everything works for about 6 weeks.
This is huge. This is the concept of adaptation. The youthful mind knows that you have to keep changing the stimulus. You can't just do the same thing for 20 years and expect the same results.
So if you've been doing the exact same workout or using the exact same pitch at work for 5 years,
You're stagnant. You're coasting. To stay young, you have to introduce new challenges. You have to confuse the system a little bit to keep it awake.
and number 3, which is the scary one, time will magnify all your deficiencies.
That's the kicker. This is compound interest for bad habits.
Can you give me an example of that outside the gym?
Sure. Think about a tiny bit of communication breakdown in a marriage. Maybe you just roll your eyes when your partner talks about their hobby. Small thing, right?
Doesn't seem like a deal breaker.
Over 1 week. No, over 10 years. That eye roll becomes a wall of contempt. Time magnifies the deficiency until it destroys the structure.
So how do we design a system to handle that?
Yeah.
The source mentions addition by subtraction.
It's the art of removal. We tend to think solving a problem means adding something. Buy a new app, get a new gadget, add a new meeting.
But usually, the young approach, the clear approach, is to strip away the fluff. Remove the noise so you can see clearly again.
Don't add a meditation app, delete the social media app that's stressing you out.
Exactly. Clean the lens.
And there's one more rule about systems in the notes that I think is the most profound. A system must survive the loss of its founder.
That goes back to the ego thing, doesn't it?
It does. If you are building something, a business, a family tradition, a team, and it collapses the moment you walk out of the room, you haven't built a system. You've built a monument to yourself.
Wow, that puts a lot of leadership into perspective.
True youth is building for a future you might not even see. It's planting a tree under whose shade you'll never sit. That is the ultimate act of seeing beauty, seeing a future that exists beyond your own lifespan.
That pivots us really well into career and purpose, because we spend most of our waking lives working. And there is a career triad in the notes that is supposed to help us keep this youthful alignment.
Yes. 3 questions, and the source argues they have to be checked in order.
No.
1. Are you good at it?
Okay.
2. Do you love it? 3. Does anyone need you to do it? And will they pay you?
It feels like pop culture tells us to start with number 2. Do what you love.
Which is a trap. If you do what you love, but you aren't good at it and nobody pays you, that's a hobby. And if you try to force it into a career, you'll just end up frustrated and bitter.
So the aging or jaded soul usually picks just one. They chase the money and hate their life, or they chase the passion and starve.
The youthful view is seeing the intersection. It's the discipline to wait and work until you can answer yes to all 3. That's sustainable.
But getting to those answers requires asking the right questions. And we have Einstein here weighing in.
The classic Einstein quote. If he had an hour to solve a life or death problem, he'd spend 55 minutes determining the proper question.
And only 5 minutes solving it. Why the disparity?
Because rushing to the answer is an old habit. It's assuming you already know the shape of the problem. It's relying on your existing mental maps.
The beginner's mind, the youthful mind, sits with the uncertainty.
It says, wait, am I even solving the right puzzle? Which is terrifying for the ego. The ego wants to be the expert immediately. But you have to resist that urge to really see what's going on.
We also have a note here from Charles Darwin, and this pushes back against a very modern, very tired idea that life is just a competition.
Oh, this is essential. We are told constantly that it's a dog-eat-dog world. But Darwin said survival value lies in intelligence, moral sense, and social cooperation.
Not just competition.
Not just competition. So seeing life as a zero-sum game, for me to win, you have to lose, is actually a distortion.
It's a filter. It's one of those dirty lenses we talked about at the start.
Exactly. It makes you see enemies where you could see allies. The youthful orientation recognizes that we rise together. If I help you, the whole system improves.
That's seeing beauty in the collective, not just the self.
Right. And it even applies to money. The notes mention Gandhi. Goodness in simplicity, not wealth. And the practical advice, earn it before you buy it.
It's all connected. Debt is a form of not seeing reality. It's pretending you have resources you don't have yet.
Yeah.
It creates stress, which creates tunnel vision.
Simplicity buys you freedom, and freedom allows you to keep looking at the world with curiosity.
So let's try to bring this all home. We've covered a lot, from bears to moon gazing to systems theory. But the core message seems to be that seeing beauty is an active practice. It's not something you just have.
No, you have to fight for it. You have to wake up every day and wipe the dust off the lens. You have to notice when you're acting like the bear, pushing against the log, and choose to stop.
You have to notice when you're taking all the credit for your kid's success and remind yourself they did most of it.
Yes.
There's a tiny practical tip in the notes that I absolutely love. It's a greeting.
Yeah.
Instead of asking, how are you, or what's wrong, you ask, what's the good word?
I love that. What's the good word? It changes the entire frame of the conversation. It invites the other person to look for something beautiful, something positive.
It clears the lens for both of you.
Versus listing your grievances, which feels like, what, 90% of casual conversation is these days?
It really does.
Give love, get love. That's another formula from the source. It sounds trite, but it's causality. Your action proves your greatness. You don't get validation and then act good. You act, and reality reflects it back to you.
So the mission for our listener is pretty clear. It's to check your vision.
Right. Where is your vision contracting? Where are you seeing the cheese instead of the moon? Where are you fighting a pendulum?
And remember that Kafka promise. Anyone who keeps the ability to see beauty never grows old. It's available to you right now, whether you're 20 or 80.
The moon is only the moon. See it for what it is.
And on that note, we'll leave you with one final thought from the source material to chew on. Your action proves your greatness. Not your intentions, not your resume, but what you actually do. So what's the good word? Thanks for diving in with us.
Keep your sight clear.